previous videos, I talked about sensors, AI, and clinical decision making. In this one, I want to take a step back, like step forward. I'm not so sure. Because there's something we often skip. Movement data is not meaningful by default, and we should talk the raw data. And what do we mean by raw data? Raw data is what comes directly from the source. Like it's not about it's not have it doesn't have to about healthcare, but in an industry. But the raw data is numbers from the raw data is comes from numbers as comes from sensors or joint coordinates from a camera, angle values changing over time. At this stage, data is just data. It hasn't been filtered, contextualized or interpreted yet. So the same movement, different graphics. But what does that mean? Let's say we record the shoulder flexion movement, and the same example still continue. A sensor might give us a clean looking ankle time graph, but inside the graph there could be noise, tremor, measurement error, like maybe a patient has a spasm. I'm not so sure about that, but maybe patient has a spasm, so the patient couldn't raise his or her arm like as. But the graph shows the movement, but it doesn't automatically show movement quality. I'm trying to say that. But while clinical interpretations begins, this is how clinical reason starts. A physiotherapist doesn't just look at numbers. Like we ask, is this change functional? Is this change functional? In this moment, controlled or compensatory? Under what load was this performed? Like did the patient use some dumbbells or like something like that? Was pain involved? Like patient has pain or not? None of these answers are written in the data itself, but without them the data says the data stays incomplete. So why progressing along is not enough? Sorry for that. The raw data usually needs processing, like processing. I'm sorry for that. The raw data usually needs processing, like filtering, feature extractions, sometimes convolution. These steps are useful, but here's the key point. Not every mathematically valid operation is clinically meaningful. But sometimes it's kind of misunderstanding about the data. So it's also a trap of algorithmic accuracy. Like an algorithm can be very accurate and still be clinically irrelevant. So what does that mean? For example, detecting very small ankle differences, identifying subtle pattern changes. But if the patient functional activities has not changed, this data is meaningful or not meaningful. Like for example, like I think this way. If a patient's shoulder flexion increased by 10 degrees or 1 degree, the 1 degree is meaningful for patient's functional activities or not. It doesn't change anything in patient's life, so it doesn't meaningful too. But the algorithm detects the 1 degree, but in the conclusion we don't say it's meaningful or it's increase the patient's functional activities. Like I'm trying to say that, like you know that. So if this change does not affect function, pain, or participation? What do they really mean clinically? Is that the questions of the in the video above flow that makes sense to me looks like this, movements, we get the movements, the patients do the movements, we get the data and we analyze the data. So we decide the clinical how can I say? We can make clinical context, and we end of the process we decide what the meaning of the data. Without clinical context, analysis is just analysis, and that's not a failure actually. It's just a boundary. I'm sorry, I'm kind of nervous. What I wanted to show in this video is simple. Movement data does not speak for itself. Clinical reasoning gives a voice toward the data. In the next video, I want to go one step further and ask which movements data actually helps the clinical decision making and which data just look impressive. Thank you for watching, and you can subscribe and like my video to support me, and thank you for watching. Thank you.